Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Discord. My name is Hamza Aziz. I am the community manager for Striking Distance Studios, and I want to, thank everyone for your excitement, everyone's comments, all the questions that have been submitted for our first ever Discord Q&A. I speak for everyone at the studio by saying that it's been amazing to see everyone's excitement and passion for the Callisto protocol and, the horror genre in general. We feel the same way, and we're excited to share more with you over time. Starting today, we're going to spend about the next 20 minutes or so answering some of the questions that were submitted to us on social media, and then unleashing you all onto our extended, uncensored red band trailer that we have created for the Callisto protocol. So, without further ado, answer your questions today will be our founder and CEO, Glenn Schofield, along with our Chief Development Officer, Steve Papoutsis. So, without further ado, here's Glenn.
Thanks, Hamza. Well, hi, everybody. Many of you may know me from my work on Dead Space or Call of Duty. And while Striking Distance is a new team, we are industry veterans who have worked on some of the biggest games of all time. We're here because we're passionate about creating the highest quality, most immersive games that delight players and leave a mark on the industry. Which brings us to the first game, the Callisto Protocol. If you missed a reveal at the Game Awards, the Callisto Protocol is the first game from our studio, and we're really psyched about it. We had the pleasure of revealing it to the world with Jeff Keighley last Thursday. It's been an exciting week, to say the least. The Callisto Protocol is a single-player, story-driven survival horror game set in a prison colony on Jupiter's moon, Callisto. We're designing it to be the most terrifying of all time. And we'll showcase it in a special extended red band version of a trailer for you today. But first, I'd like to introduce Steve Papoutsis, my longtime colleague and Chief Development Officer at Striking Distance, also here today. Steve?
Thanks, Glenn. Hey, everybody. First, I want to say this is pretty cool to be able to have kind of this intimate gathering with the folks that are really interested and want to get in on the ground floor with the Callisto protocol. As Glenn said, and Hamza, I'm super excited to be able to do this and really excited to get into those questions. Want to thank everybody for the nice messages and positive feedback we've seen. Our team has been so thrilled and pumped up. It's unbelievable. They just love seeing all the stuff you all are sharing with us. And we can't wait to get into more about the Callisto protocol. So we're gonna be continuing to engage and share information over the next year. But before we get to the red band video, we want to answer some of the questions people submitted about the game. So Hamza, where should we start?
Yeah, Steve, let's start with this question from Evan, who asked, why the return to survival horror? Do you feel like you had unfinished business here?
Good question. The team at Striking Distance is focused on creating the highest quality, immersive experiences, and our team is stacked with experts in the genre. We've been doing this for quite some time. So the Callisto Protocol is a passion project. Back to our roots, trying to create the most terrifying game of all time. We're just huge fans of science fiction and horror across the board. Games, books, movies, you name it. And this is a chance for us to channel our biggest inspirations while something meaningful back in the world of horror. We did it with Dead Space, and we'll do it again. And I think we're really lucky that we're able to do a game like this, and something that we're really passionate, something that makes us wake up every morning and to work. Steve, anything?
Oh yeah. Hey, good answer, Glenn. For me, I think the thing I would like to add to everything you said, which I agree with, is it was just so much fun working with the people that we're making this game with, that, doing something in the survival horror genre, just, it's something that we're all excited about. And we had such a great time and such awesome memories from our previous experience together. We were just excited to do it again.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Thank you, guys. Steve, next question comes from Leme. Without giving away too much about the story, what is the main objective in the game?
All right, Lamy, let's go ahead and try this one. So very high level, because we don't want to go into too much detail today, but the idea is that the player must escape Black Iron Prison and uncover the dark secrets of the United Jupiter Company. The game takes place on Jupiter's dead moon of Callisto. And, one of the things that's kind of interesting about it is in reality, it is a moon that is comprised of ice and water. So we felt like that could be a really interesting place. And maybe in the future, that's where, civilization will migrate to if we need water. So, yeah, that's what I can share today.
Great. Anything else you want to potentially add, Glenn?
Well, I don't want to give too much away. Like Steve said, we put it on the moon of Callisto because we want this to be relatable and plausible. It's gotta feel believable for us to have really good sci-fi, and so we've tried very hard to keep it very, very plausible for the player.
Nice. That kind of leads to this next question then from Dominic. Why did you decide on a prison as the setting for the game?
Well, to start with, prison is a really scary place. And a prison on Jupiter's dead moon is terrifying. Can't think of anything more desolate and isolated than that. From a gameplay standpoint, it's filled with claustrophobic spaces, danger around every corner, and tons of cool design opportunities with lighting and audio design opportunities. From a storytelling perspective, it's very ominous to be a prisoner with nothing but just the clothes on your back, and that's how you the game. So we've all thought that prison is one of the we could think of going. So a prison on a dead moon makes it easy.
All right. So, Steve, anything to add there?
No, I think Glenn nailed it.
Perfect. Then how about you take this next question? I know you love nicknames and all that, and this question comes from someone named Battle Grizz. With the goal of making the scariest game ever, what are the benefits of being in third person versus first person?
Ooh, okay, Battle Grizz. I think it's one of the things for me when I play games is I enjoy seeing my character. I like, the equipment and the costumes that we put on them, and I like that connection, being able to see them. Also, the spatial awareness component is obviously different. While I think first person can be super scary too. It's pretty interesting when you can see the enemies kind of grabbing hold of you, or being in combat and seeing more of the hits and reactions, and just really also kind of seeing the progression of your character is pretty neat. So and then the interplay of the shadows and all of those types of things. I think those are things that are really neat about third person.
And kind of touching more on the topic of our gameplay mechanics and everything. This question comes from Himko, who asks, "Will there be co-op?"
We decided that we're going to just focus on player narrative-driven experience. We want to. There's a story that we want to tell, and the best way we could tell it was being a single-player game. Sometimes when you get into co-op, you directions and you're not following the story as well. and not only that, we wanted this to be you to be alone. I mean, that's what makes this really scary, going through this environment.
So, sorry there, Glenn, cutting out a little.
No, I was just saying, back to you.
Okay. So with our focus on horror and trying to create this tension and fear factor going on here, we had this question come in from Corgi Cam, who asked, "Is the team taking inspiration from classic horror films like The Thing, Event Horizon, movies that also inspired a game you guys are probably a little familiar with, Dead Space? What other films are inspiring the Callisto Protocol?"
I'll start with this one, Steve, if you don't mind, and then just in. But well, first of all, you've got the Alien friends, and that's just great horror, great sci-fi, right? Add to that Prometheus. There's a new movie called, a couple of years old, called Life, that I thought was pretty scary in some places. Quiet Place, Train to Busan, Pandorum, which is like zombies in space. The Grudge, Ring, Descent, Saw, Hereditary. I mean, there are just so many great horror films and sci-fi out there that I can't list them all.
What about you, Steve?
Hey, well, Glenn named a great list. I think, the stuff that Corgi Cam pointed out, I really enjoy The Thing, Event Horizon, of course. Some wild card movies. One of my favorite horror movie is An American Werewolf in London. I know that's not really sci-fi, but that was one of my favorites when I was growing up. Also, not necessarily a horror movie, but A Clockwork Orange. Actually has some pretty scary stuff that goes on in that movie from a story perspective. I found that pretty cool, and it is science fiction. So there's a couple from me too.
Nice. That's a good list from both of you. And on the subject of inspirational media, we have Finchstrife, who asks, "What are influences from gaming that have or are inspiring you as we're working away here on the Callisto Protocol?" I'll start with you, Steve.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, sure. Boy, so, one of the things that's really fun about what we do is that there's just so many people that contribute to making these great games. And, I think everybody has a different game they're playing at any given time and derives a different type of inspiration based on their specific discipline. Somebody may be playing, let's say Spider-Man, and they really are into it. And they're looking at, the cool lighting that's in there, or, maybe a designer is playing another game and they're pulling out some inspiration from a mechanic or a system that's there. So there's just so many great games out there. I know, you probably want to get to an answer of like, what are some, back to your question, what's inspiring the Callisto Protocol? I think it's everything that's come before is inspiring for me personally. Any game I play, I try to learn something from that game. Every game I play, there's something that is really cool and interesting and fun about it. And then there's also some things that maybe aren't so great that I try to learn from. But, in terms of inspiration, I would just go way back and say, I really enjoyed the original Resident Evil. That was a unique experience for me, on the PlayStation, just the way that myself and friends kind of sat around being just drawn into that world. That's a really big one.
I think what you just said is really spot on. When people typically ask what game is inspiring you, they expect specific references to full. But what you talked about, how the lighting in Spider-Man or these various mechanics in these various games, from a developer's perspective, that's the inspirational stuff right there. Like, how did they push the locomotion? Stay on the Spider-Man subject. The locomotion in that game is something I've never seen before to that level. So kind of hearing it from your perspective is really interesting. I think insightful for our audience here today. Glenn, on that same question, anything you'd like to add?
Steve's right. I mean, we do get inspiration from just about anywhere. You know, you can find the art direction from Batman or something. But just to be a little bit more specific on some of them, Steve's also correct on the series is just awesome. Resident Evil 4, great inspiration. I still look to that one. Silent Hill was great, the Silent Hill series. Fear and Condemned. Alien Isolation was great. Outlast, Until Dawn, or who could forget like PT? You know, that was pretty amazing, scary. So there have been some great horror games out there that are very inspiring. And, we'll look just for like one scare moment and how that worked in a game. And, how can we use that, or how can we use the way they approached it in our games?
Great. Thank you both for your answers there. Next question comes from Kevin B. We already know that next-gen consoles have better sound and graphics. Besides that, how does next-gen, or really current-gen now, help you take horror to another level? Steve.
All right. Okay, this is a big question. So let's see, Kevin. So really, what's interesting over the years, having made a number of games, being really fortunate to have made a number of games, and been through several console evolutions. Going from PlayStation and Xbox to the subsequent versions of those consoles. What's really been at the center of everything we try to do is start with a compelling concept and a really strong story first and foremost. The technology is a tool that supports the creativity of the folks working on the project. And so certain consoles are going to be better or be able to deliver certain aspects. But as game developers, it's important that we leverage those strengths of the various platforms to support the initial concepts we have. So, sure, there's going to be the ability to push more on screen with the new consoles, and pretty excited about the audio advancements. Being someone who really loves audio and having worked in that area in the past, really pumped about that. But at the end of the day, the consoles are the tools that we use to unlock the creativity of our development. And, we want to leverage that, but in order to really leverage that in a positive way, we need to make sure it has a synergy with the story and the concept that we're pushing forward.
Anything to add there, Glenn?
Yeah, I mean, the lighting that we can get nowadays is pretty amazing. From strobing to bright lights, flickering lights, it's all it's pretty amazing and pretty realistic. So we can actually drop you into a world that feels more believable. I think the graphics, like Steve was mentioning, the world looking real is just where we can take it today. The stuff that we're doing already looks so amazing, and each generation's always looked better than the last, and this one's doing the same. It's just looking amazing.
Great. Okay. I know the audience here is getting a little antsy for our trailer, but I have one last question here to ask you both. This comes from Anonymous. Fear is very personal and subjective. How do you approach creating a terrifying experience for a large audience? We'll start with you, Glenn.
I try to think of what scares me, and you know, put you in places that I know would be scary. You know, for me, places that are dark, places that feel abandoned, or you know, water up to my waist in darkness. You know, so for me, it's like trying to figure out what would really scare me and make me feel like I'm in a terrifying place. And then, you know, we try and storyboard out those sort of and work from there. So it's all based on, for me, you know, what I think will scare me, and then we try and you know, talk to the rest of the team. And if the team feels like that's a scary moment, then we'll try and put that into the game.
How about you, Steve?
Yeah, I mean, everything Glenn said, plus, you know, what I would add to that is, you know, it all starts from connecting with the story, right? So, like, I think it's really important that you care about the protagonists, the characters in the story, because that amps up the tension. If you start caring for these characters, you're going to be really concerned and worried if anything bad happens to them, right? So there's that component. And then, just like Glenn said, I think it's all about the relatability. You know, for us, you know, Glenn's mentioned previously today, it's about believability and relatability, right? So even though we're a science fiction game set in the future, we still need to keep it grounded in a way that it feels plausible. It's like something that could possibly happen. And when you start playing on those connections, you know, the connection to the character, the connection to the world, the environment, the setting, the theme, the story, then when we do try to scare you or create a very gruesome scene or a tension-filled section, it just hits harder, right? So, you know, if you don't care about the character or you don't believe the world you're in, you're already kind of, you know, why would you be scared, right? Like, you know, this whole thing is just hoo-ha. But when you really care about the characters, you care about the story, you believe the setting you're in, that combination, that intersection of art, design, and technology working together, then allows us to create something that's terrifying.
Great answer, Steve and Glenn. Thank you both so much for answering questions from our community today. Glenn, any last words, closing remarks here?
Yeah, you know, I'm sure that there's so many more questions that I promise you we will have you in the coming months. So please stay tuned here and on our other social channels and the game's web. And I want to thank everybody who's for their support, for their encouragement, and that's what makes us keep going. So we really do appreciate the fans more than you know, and you know, couldn't thank you enough for just your support for us. So thank you.
Thank you, Glenn. And yeah, as he said, check out our social channels, Twitter, Facebook. We have links in our Discord. But now it's time, everyone. Without further ado, head on over to our announcements channel, and you can finally see our extended, uncut red band cinematic reveal trailer. Thank you again, and happy holidays. We'll see you next year.